Hello and welcome to Watchpoint Reset. We just got to watch the Paris Eternal run away with the W against the Houston Outlaws in a fairly convincing fashion. 3-1 was the end score, so let's talk about what we just saw. And for all of that, I of course, have my trusty analysts, Costa as well as Reinforce, joining me here on our respective desks slash stand.
It's a stand for me, really.
Up,
yeah, it's a stand.
Stand things, setups. Yeah, okay, I'm the only one sitting. Got it. I'm lazy. I heard it. Let's talk about it. We already dissected the first two maps, but in the second half, we did see some life from Houston Outlaws in the first half. Second half, really not that much of that anymore. Paris Eternal looked so very comfortable with the hero pool we're currently using. What is it that the Houston Outlaws didn't do? What could they have done better? What did you want to see from them?
You guys can't hear me. Sorry, let me keep going. I'm going to start again. I think they were just outmatched in the Houston versus... you do hear me. The Paris versus Houston. I got the Doomfist versus the Reaper. The matchup just wasn't really good for the Houston Outlaws. They should stick to the Sombra. The EMPs are better for them. They just needed to play around it better because I don't think they're ever going to win the mirror matchup against the Paris Eternal.
Yeah, I mean, Houston Outlaws in the second half, they were about as good as Costa's audio engineer skills, honestly. So I think
wow.
I had to throw that one in there after you were muted for a little bit. But to be fair, I do think that the Houston Outlaws, they sort of got worse as long as the match progressed. And I think this is an underlying issue with the Houston Outlaws, it seems like, that they come into a match with a game plan, and then people get their own reads on the game and the tendencies of the enemy team, and they sort of have their own ideas of how they're going to approach the enemy team as the series progress. So when we got to that Hollywood map, it seemed like, especially during the fights, in the middle of the fights, it seems like some of the Houston Outlaws players just wanted to take the fight their own direction, and as such, they didn't have any team coordinates whatsoever. And I mean, this happens to a lot of people in every kinds of games. Like even when we play ranked or whatever, because like sometimes you're in a party with some other players, and you have different reads on the game and what you want to accomplish. And that's what it feels like when I watch the Houston Outlaws. If I compare it to Paris Eternal, they all play together like a team. They have the same idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that has been an issue for the Outlaws for quite a bit now. They're not lacking individual skill. All of those players are fantastic players. It's really just the cohesion doesn't seem to be there, and we see that a lot in the first half. We saw a lot of that if we're just looking at their ult usage. Like there was some sort of breakdown in the communication, which just made them a little too liberal, or like it was badly timed, etc. So it's unfortunate to see. So, you know, like maybe they can bring it back again. This is only week number 9. Still a lot more games to come. Let's hope for the best for not just the Outlaws, but also all the Outlaws fans. But for now, Paris Eternal walking away with a victory, and they are looking good doing so. And that wraps up our very first match of the day. We're now moving on to talk about the second series we will be watching, and that's going to be the Philadelphia Fusion heading into battle against the Washington Justice. I'm very excited for that one. However, if we're looking at the starting 6 here for the Philadelphia Fusion, Costa, I'm so sad to disappoint you. It's not happening.
What do you mean it's not happening?
Not.
You know, this is... We need a free Chipsa petition, I think, to start going around, sort of really get those signatures up. With that said, on a serious note, we have Hisu coming in. He is a rookie. He played for Runaway. He's a hit scan player. We haven't seen him play. He just came of age on March 25th, so happy birthday to him. I'm really excited to see how he does it.
Happy birthday.
Carpe and Hisu together, that's a scary combo.
I mean, that was like 2 weeks ago. Can you still wish someone happy birthday when it was like
yeah,
2
because
weeks
I haven't seen him in 2 weeks because we're not tight like that, you know?
Oh,
so
yeah,
I'm just wishing him now.
I suppose. Also, the Philadelphia Fusion, they teased us on Twitter and said that maybe today's the day. So just because Chips is not in the starting lineup, they could bring it in.
I mean, maybe if they're up 2-0, you know, maybe they throw a Chipsa in there.
That's what I'm looking out for today.
Just throw a Chipsa.
Just throw a Chipsa, as they say. everywhere in the world. Now, let's take a look at the players from the Washington Justice and who will be their starting six. Yesterday, we did discuss that they kind of lacked adaptation. They had a game plan and they religiously stuck to it. So do you hope to see some switches in terms of the players, or do you just want them to execute a little different
I mean, looking at the starting roster, it doesn't seem like they will be changing up a lot of things. I believe yesterday we saw Corey on the Torbjorn in the latter half, and we saw Tuba on the Reaper, so we're probably expecting more of the same here. But as I said in the pre-show, I would like this team to go a bit more on the aggressive, especially against a team like the Philadelphia Fusion. Bring your own game, try to play your own game, and try to throw Philadelphia Fusion off guard. Try to play that Doomfist and the Reaper composition and play aggressive. But with Corey and Tuba in the lineup, it does seem to me like they are going to play the Torbjorn and the Reaper composition. So we'll see how it goes. At least don't play Torbjorn on offense. That's all I ask, because it hasn't worked out great so far.
I think with the limited amount of practice, I think Washington just have to come in with what they've strategized. You saw the Houston Outlaws in the last match try and adapt it the last second, and it didn't really seem to work out. There just wasn't the synergy. So I think Washington are going to come in, try and play the Torbjorn, try and play the Reaper, and just sort of hope that it works out better against the Philadelphia Fusion. But Philly does have the upper hand in the fact that they got to see what Washington did. They're going to expect this is coming out. So if you're looking at this match, you have to expect that Philly's probably going to take this pretty convincingly.
Yeah, and one more thing. Look out for Funny Astro dealing with Corey's turrets. Because yesterday we saw Kellex just getting rid of all those turrets as Lucio. And I think Funny Astro, he's a fantastic Lucio, and he could very well just prevent Corey from putting down those turrets. And that's going to be an engage signal for the Philadelphia Fusion. So look out for that in the kill feed.
How many turrets did he take out?
Yeah, like
28?
absurd amount.
Something like that. Yeah, 26.
Yeah, it was pretty mad. So let's see if we're gonna get to witness more of that, guys. This is it for our reset. Thank you so much for the insight. And we're now heading back to Uber and Mr. X for all the action. Philadelphia Fusion heading into war against good old Washington Justice.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by ZipChair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League, and by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Great to have you back with us, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you had a chance to relax and maybe take a break and get some food while Watchpoint was on. But we're back into the game. Sunday just keeps going, and our next match is going to be the Philadelphia Fusion and a rematch against the Washington Justice. I'm here, of course, with Matt Morello, and this one is a little bit of a grudge in this game, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a rematch from when we were in Philly for the Battle of Brotherly Love. I also think it's a great insight, a new look as to how the Philly Fusion have done since then. It's been a while since we've seen them. We were considering them when we saw them, one of the best teams, up for the best team in the league at the time. And we'll see if they're able to, kind of keep up that standard. For the Washington Justice, they did lose a match yesterday. They played Stratus early on, then they played Tuba later. Corey played Torbjorn pretty much exclusively the whole series, and he was quite good at it. They just couldn't follow up any of his pickoffs and any of his ultimates in any meaningful way. And a lot of the damage he put down a ton of damage on the Torb. So I'll be looking to see if they have made adjustments from yesterday and if they're able to follow up on some of Corey's damage.
That's right. Of course, the Philly lineup was on your screen just there. Carpe, Hisu, Poco, Sado, Bunny Astro, and Alarm. So Hisu going to get some play today. Of course, many of you would know him from his time on Runaway, a DPS player, very young. I'd say he's probably barely of age now.
I don't think he started the season of age.
No,
I think that was the thing,
Yeah, so I think he's a very exciting prospect for Philly. When I spoke to the GM Tucker, he said that we think that he's going to make a very big impact pretty much as soon as he's old enough to play. And their opponents, the Washington Justices, have a look at them because they're going to have a couple of problems on their hands if he starts to pop off. They are, of course, Corey. Tuba comes in here. Raw, Elivote, Aim God, and Arc. And yesterday, we didn't see Tuba. It was sort of speculated. Maybe we see him for Stratus. Well, it is going to be that way today.
We did see him in the second half of yesterday's series. So right. He did play a little bit later in the series yesterday. But still, we saw a lot of late support ults that came out from Arc. Corey was putting up a ton of damage, and they were not able to follow any of it up. But he was playing Torbjorn the whole time. We'll see if they commit to that strategy yet again today. They played it on offense and defense yesterday. They were fully committed to that strategy. They had no other game plan other than that.
So the Justice do have an extra official match on this hero rotation under their belt. We'll see if they can take away some key lessons from yesterday, although they look pretty good. In that match with the Philadelphia Fusion. This matchup always is a hype one if you take Corey and Carpe's head-to-head, but I wouldn't be overlooking Hisu in this matchup. For those of you that get it, you'll know that this young, talented player is looking to make quite a splash. Can play a ton of different things as well. We've seen him on Hitscan. We've also seen him on Projectile as well. We should be excited for it. Our first map is going to be suitably Busan.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting what the Philly Fusion decide to play with Hisu in the lineup today. We could see some Widowmaker on Busan, right? Widowmaker we've seen in the past here on this map specifically. So we'll have to take a look as once we get into game. Arc asking Poco if he's going to play Winston. I highly doubt that.
Poco's stream is great. He actually doesn't really get tilted when you watch him, and he has played some of those heroes he's not familiar with, and the results are always highly amusing.
What's interesting for the Philly Fusion is they make, it's not really like a trade, but they sign Fury in the offseason, and we haven't really seen him that much.
That's right,
We've seen really Poco the whole time.
It makes you wonder. I mean, Fury is not, as far as Overwatch players are considered, sort of old or too old. I mean, he's younger, right. I'm pretty sure. Well, he's a bit older than a lot of the other Korean cohort, but I'm pretty sure he's younger than Poco. I'm not sure. Either way, I mean, we thought this guy is a world-class diva with some of the most ridiculous highlights that we've ever seen in terms of shutting down defense matrices and stuff, or shutting down ultimates with defense matrix. We are in a pause, guys. We have acknowledged that.
Sounds like it's a little bit of a mic issue.
It's not us.
No.
I'm putting it on the players now. I'm putting them on blast because y'all got in the game and your boy Hisu. I mean, they don't even have this complicated tech,
Hugo,
Matt.
our new audio engineer.
Yeah. Hugo's out there. He's been around, mate. This ain't his first rodeo.
Nope.
He knows how to set up these mics, bro. He's on the mixing deck, just flipping switches and getting stuff done. I mean, it really depends where you put his dog toy that he goes for, but,
the last time I saw him, he was dead asleep. Yeah,
right.
That could have been one of the issues here with this pause. But
that could be an issue. But if he had it set up properly fine beforehand, it would have been okay. It looks like Philadelphia, though, have got their mic stuff sorted out, and we'll give Hisu a bit of a grace period, of course, coming in as a newer addition. But it looks like, so we see a lot of the Torb, a lot of the Reaper here. Maybe everyone is sort of coalesced and no pun intended, or settled around like a very similar composition this week from practice?
Look, it's deathball-y. It's deathball-y, kind of like how you would play with a Mei, but without Mei, you put in the Torb. The Torb deters things like Tracer, Sombra, Genji, right? It takes kind of all those out of the equation, and that's how you end up here.
So, Torb's in the front line. Sato trying to... Oh, dear. He has to be careful. That off angle that Elivote took made it very dangerous for Sato to trade like that. Yeah, just a little positioning error, I think, from Sato may cost Philly this first fight. They did get rid of Corey's turret, but... I mean, now Washington moved to the point. They have a player advantage. They have a Reinhardt advantage, and they're probably feeling pretty good. And
even if you, you would never play a hero... Like, let's say, for argument's sake, you could play, like, a McCree right now. Torb is just the better version, right? Because he can... His ultimate's more effective at this level of play to just zone off areas. You have the turret, which is a surefire way to deter flankers. And you're able to beef up, get a higher fire rate, and chunk down tanks. So it's just a lot more that he offers than, let's say, a hero like McCree right now. But the Justice, they get control of the point. They hold on to it. You see Corey picking up 2 kills there. As the exit comes in, he'll have his ult for the next fight, which could be very difficult to get through the choke.
So, credit where it's due. Philly, after losing Sato in that first fight, don't sort of waste too much time. They don't, get rolled and give over ultimates. So it wasn't a snowball that caused that fight to sort of be lost. It was, however, the coalescence from Aim God being online and available. And they just made use of that. They didn't have to use too much else. Molten Core, Carpe steps up, Corey does it as well. The floor is literally lava, fam, and he got Tuba. Couldn't get away. Either Wraithwalk wasn't online or didn't realize he'd walked to his fiery demise. Carpe somehow finds Aim God's noggin with a rivet from that high ground. And is there any hero this guy can't dominate on? The idea of Carpe on Torbjorn frankly offends me. It offends my delicate sensibilities, but he looks incredibly good.
Well, you see how effective the ultimate is. He's able to get one. And then once he gets on the high ground, Torb can just do so much damage, especially with the turret added in as well. And that's why we're seeing a lot of him this weekend. As the Justice, they do build up to 53% on the point. We'll see how they go about trying to get the retake.
Tuba making his way across with the rest. Turret down for Corey already. You can see that Carpace is being protected for the most part, and a lot of people are sort of trying to aim for that turret first. Aim God, there's the Coalescence. Doesn't find much with it so far because the sound barrier was there for the Philly Fusion. Llama's building up a big ultimate of his own. Turrets are down, and that's all so far. Everyone's just trying to clean house. No blood spilled yet, but this could be it. Sato quickly has to put up his shield. Both Reapers trying to mirror themselves here. It's a dance battle with the Death Blossoms, and again, simultaneous Molten Cores. And, well, Ragnaros will be impressed, but problem is that the Justice here, they're able to get rid of Hisu by knocking him off the map. They can shift up to the point now, and 56 to 53%. The Justice can now take control as these two teams just copying each other across the round.
They just battle it out. You see how long the fights can go, especially in this meta. It's very reminiscent of almost like GOATs, right? Where the fights could just be very extended, a lot of healing built around, just bulky, beefy compositions. Is now to be the Philadelphia Fusion's opportunity in turn to retake. They have no ultimates to work with though, Mitch. The Coalescence for the Justice, that should be enough to get it done.
80% now for Washington. Aim God, been training under Master Roshi. Already got KO Ken sorted, now it's just a Kamehameha. Sits back a little bit. Okay, turret's cleaned out. They'll be replaced in a few seconds. Tuba has to be careful. He has to Wraithwalk defensively away. Now Philly have a chance to take some ground. It's not a kill, but it allows them for some space. Aim God now with a Coalescence. He lets it go. Raw has to play passive with the Coalescence in play. He needs to heal up a little bit more, but that gave Philly time to get theirs. They lost Hisu. Sato's going to be next. The Justice realized even with Coalescence in play, the enemy team, they were lacking the Reaper. Poco tries to split off and keep the point contested for as long as he can, and a Molten Core's thrown in, but everyone else is just playing stick in the mud. They won't walk into the patches of lava. They'll be safe as houses. And the Washington Justice, Corey, an exultant release of the Molten Core, and that will be the round going over to Washington.
You saw for a quick moment the Corey Poco 1v1. D.Va can 1v1 almost every hero in the game with ease, outside of like Torbjorn, right? The turret plus the ability to just overload and become very difficult to kill, very tanky. An issue for D.Va to deal with. And then as soon as he gets his ultimate, turn that DPI up to 1600, spin around in a circle, throw it all everywhere.
Hey Matt, do you reckon these headset cables are insured against buffalo sauce?
No.
Okay. No reason.
Okay.
Just now, it won't be if I just dipped into the source, bro, while I was casting. Literally lost in the source. I mean, you can't help it with all this Torbjorn action happening. Is this
if you were trying to hide it, probably the worst idea was to say you happened on broadcast.
Oh no, I was just asking you. I mean, who else am I going to ask? Like,
true. I mean, I would be the only one that would know. As Corey gets to the high ground here as Bastion. You get the Bastion sim, so a lot of shield break potential, a lot of damage. We'll see now what the Fusion decide to do. How do you get to the point? This is oddly enough, like Torbjorn's not that effective against Bastion. He's just a bigger, robotic, better version.
Yeah, it's just, it's actually a sentient turret, Matt.
Oh, look at that TP.
No, dude. Oh, God. He can just go back and forth if he wants to now. Change position. Reinhardt shield put in his way. Philly thought they had one angle covered, but the other one completely open. And there he goes. Goes back to the other side. Hisu, though, nice little assassination. He creeps up on Tuba, but then he exposes himself to a lot of that Bastion damage. Philly, well, they may blot out the sun with their arrows. They're trying to fight in the shade, but the problem is, Matt, the point's not in the shade.
I was gonna say you don't need to throw to me to say that's a tough position for Philly to fight out of. 2 doorways and a Bastion on the other side. They get a Coalescence, they get right underneath them, and without that Symmetra there's no TP for Corey to get to the other side.
This is like the Protect the VIP compositions that we used to see. The El Presidente setup with Bastion on control maps. Elivote and Raw fighting on the point here, though, and they are being passive. Look at them. Stepping back now. Philly had locally the numbers, and oh dear, Elivote realized he's just been caught in a bit of a snafu. Tried to charge towards Carpe, who got a sound barrier at just that moment. They're able to fend the Diva off, get rid of the mech, but elsewhere, Sato got taken down by Raw. The Molten Core inside that small room, it works well, gets rid of Elivote, and then Carpe can step onto the point and give a couple right clicks with love to Raw. Philly finally got the point.
And Raw tried to shatter there at the end. All right.
I guess so, dude.
Well, I guess you just get a full reset on everybody. Why not? Roar just takes his ultimate, throws it at dumpsters. Now Corey goes back to Torb, so Torb Reaper here. They change off of that Baptiste. They go with the Moira. So this is the standard here for the Justice. So the Bastion Simcomp earns them 39% on the point to kick things off.
Corey very astutely spots Carpe's turret, instantly sends a couple rivets that way, and Torbs can't fix each other's turrets up. That's just not how it works, even though law would dictate that would be the case. Carpe, look at him, behind Raw, just slamming those rivets in, but here's a sound barrier now for the Washington Justice. Tuba stunned up briefly. Sato just got his Earth Shatter online after charging Tuba into the wall. What a key pick-off. That puts Philly miles ahead in this fight now. Sato's shield is low, but it looks like you don't need it. That's the Shatter! It was a quick fade. Lucky that Aim God saw the hammer come down, was able to escape it, but I mean, all he does is prolong his own demise. Justice get bundled up, sent back to spawn with a foot up the behind, and it's 62-39.
This is where a composition like how the Justice started out, where you can get control early, can definitely backfire, right? They've had to change numerous players on the team now to different heroes. And the percentage that you earn, 39%, wasn't even much. Philly, they win one fight because you have to switch. They jump up to 75%.
Tuba, beam me up, Scotty, he says. Time to get involved in this fight, but another Molten Core is absolutely devastating. The Justice, they tried to fight, but the entire field was covered with lava. They get caught and burnt down awfully fast. And we don't often see that ultimate be super powerful, Matt. A lot of situations, people switch to Torb, they get an ultimate off, they're defending on a first point, but now when you stick to it, Carpe having a chance to get multiple Molten Cores off, and that one looked sublime.
Yeah, Corey not even able to get one off. He just throws it off as he's just falling off the side of the map. His teammates not able to touch. You didn't really get anything after the initial. Well, you got nothing at all. Really no even fight wins or coming close to fight wins once you switched off of the Bastion Sim.
Well, right now, Matt, Justice is getting served, but it's with a side of fries. Washington are not winning out in this Torb matchup, and even though they had control of the point early on, it slipped away from them. Looks like Sato stabilized a little bit. Hisu is doing some playmaking, Matt. You know, that early weird Bastion composition where he just kept teleporting back and forth. Hisu was able to get a key assassination on the Symmetra, and Philly methodically dug the Bastion out. So they adapted, they recovered. Now they can see if they can seal the map. The Justice obviously took map 1 so convincingly. A rocky start for Philly here could be their demise.
I think you're going to see both of these teams fully commit to this comp from potentially even here on out in the whole series, as we see Torb on both sides. Who can get this turret down? What type of positioning do you go for it? It looks like Carpe holding on to it for now. No real great opportunity. There goes Corey's turret. Now you see Carpe throws his up to the high ground. The D.Va flies up real quick, and now you get aggressive. Now this takes the pressure off of the Torb turret, right? Like, you're not going to look up and kill it right away. They tried to get some action. Now it's taken out.
Yeah, so the placement looked good, but it looked very easy for Washington to shrug off the turret damage.
Well, they try and go in. They try and go in quick to take the attention away from it, like force it on the D.Va going above them, but it just didn't work.
Well, Philly did disengage somewhat during that fight, so they didn't leave the turret open getting taken down. I love it. We're delving very deep into theory crafting about Torbjorn turrets, Matt. That's great. 1%. All right, Philly, they're off to a start here, and Corey's way ahead in terms of his ult charge.
Who would have ever thought we'd see the day where you would say, yeah, Torb is a better option here than, let's say, a McCree.
I mean, look, man, I don't know. Johnny's happy. It's another Swede that gets in the Overwatch League. You know he's excited. He just throws this analysis out the window once that happens. So here's the Molten Core, though. Oh, dear. Philly forced to form a bit of a concave here as they back up. Yeah, they just can't stand there anymore.
Yeah.
Very powerful. Self-destruct here. No one worried about that one. That was defensive from Philly. So they still have the numbers. They get the remix. Sato needs to be kept alive, though, and that shield is looking worse for wear, Matt.
Did you really need the sound barrier here, though, for the Justice? You used it when everybody was at full HP. I mean, Carpe uses his Torb ult there towards the end. His players just throwing ultimates in left and right, but the Justice, they had the point. Everyone was at full HP. There was no incoming threat as Philly was backing up, and the sound barrier there is you probably could have held on to it and still won the fight.
They're completely vindicated, Matt, because Philly just used ridiculous ultimates as well.
Right, I mean, yeah, they're kind of fortunate.
But I get the idea. You make a play, the enemy team are running towards you, and the enemy Reinhardt is swinging his hammer. If you can sneak a shatter in there and sort of turn the fight on its head, then you go for that, right? I really have an issue with that. Their ultimates weren't effective at shutting the Washington Justice down, who just disengaged.
If Carpe, for argument's sake, had held on to the Molten Core, you had it right now to do the same thing the Justice just did and take the point right back. But you don't have that. Washington, they get aggressive and they push right on through. Now Corey, he'll have a Molten Core for this next fight, be able to section off the point, same as Carpe.
Matt, Hisu did his job there. He was in the perfect spot for a big Death Blossom, but that Earth Shatter, that wasn't Sato's. The fusion were just getting cleaned up at that point of the fight, so he wisely opts to back off.
It's a Tuba sneaky Death Blossom here from the corner. Is that what we're going for? Nope.
Oh,
straight
not
up the
so
gut.
Sneaky. About as subtle as a sledgehammer. And, well, vastly less effective. The Justice now will fold back a little bit more. Turret cleaned up in their wake. Corey will look to erect one as soon as possible. And the Molten Core is definitely a possibility here in this fight. The teleport forward from Tuba was, again, not subtle, very much telegraphed, but it is causing Philly to have to wait before they go to the point. Carpe finds a stray headshot against Corey, and it looks like, yep, that's the Stardust pistol. Here we go. Carpe up to the point. Raw and Tuba went down awfully quick, and it's unlikely that we see the Justice commit further ultimates to this fight. They're well ahead. They lose, unfortunately, because they get a pick off across the map by Carpe. They'll let Philly be in charge for now.
And now if you're the Justice, you can speed boost to the point, use your Molten Core, force them off of it. Carpe will have to get a good use of it. And funny, Astro does have that sound barrier if you wanted to stand and fight on the point. Or you can get aggressive here if you're Philly, right? Push, take the tempo, take the fight to them. So they poke a little bit and then they back up to the point. Let's see how they play when Corey's going to use his Molten Core. There it is.
That's a go. Looks like quite a bit of it was actually negated by Defense Matrix. Carpe's able to find Tuba with that one, though, as well. The Justice were forced back into that L-shaped little corner, and, I mean, if they weren't going to go forward, they couldn't go back either. Half of them just roasted. The rest just stepped forward and met their fate. And the Fusion is super happy with that, Matt. Winning a fight in such a one-sided fashion using only a single ultimate is incredibly powerful in Overwatch.
And you see how aggressive they're getting, right? They know they have the big ultimate advantage here. They have both support ultimates, the Shatter, the Self-Destruct, the Death Blossom, and with 80% and counting on the clock, you're one fight here, depending on how fast the Justice go, maybe just kind of picking up some stragglers from winning the map.
Philly just sold their turnips for max price there. That's how much value they got. And the Justice have to find a way to overcome this economical disadvantage, but the Shatter's not going to help things. Tuba and Elivo knocked down. It had to be a reactive sound barrier from Mark, which unfortunately for them was laid over the Coalescence from Main God. Here's Hisu though, Death Blossom, but Elivo was behind him, shutting most of that down with the Defense Matrix. Hisu still finds Raw though. Elivo, self-destruct, catches Carpe out, but Hisu still doing work. Corey, excellent play, prevents any sort of remake opportunity from Poker, but he's sorely outnumbered. Tries to go for big ultimates. Tuba trying to shut down Sato, but he's kept alive for just long enough here. Tuba, though, is able to move to the point. He will be shut down.
Whoa,
the Storm Turret!
The
Storm Turret cuts him down.
Oh!
Philadelphia see Tuba win a 2v1 situation, only to get completely boomed by a Torm turret, and then the Moira follow-up was there. I mean, this is classic Philadelphia Fusion for you, Matt. A very close map one, but they bounced back after a rough first round.
He had to go back to contest the point, and then when he moved a little bit to the left, he was trying to like play behind that pillar. When he moved to the left, he got in the line of sight of the Torm turret. Couldn't do that. You had, I believe it was a Larv on the Moira to his side, and he gets taken out, and it's just unfortunate. The one thing I did notice towards the end, and you had brought it up when you were talking, was the layering of support ults from the Justice with Arc and Aim God. That is something we saw from them yesterday, constantly layering support ults. It was something I hope they had cleaned up going into today, but clearly not, at least early.
Today might have to be a workshop for that and other things for the Washington Justice if they don't bring this series back under their control. Map 2, ladies and gentlemen, it's right around the corner. Stick around. This is the Overwatch League.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and there you see our Atlantic Conference standings. And look at this, the top 3 teams in the Atlantic Division are 3rd, 4th, and 5th overall. New York, Philly, Atlanta, Paris even in the mix there at 6th. So, Matt, this is a powerhouse division. A lot of our teams in that top echelon of the overall Overwatch League standings.
Yeah, I think you named 3 of the top teams in the league with Philly, New York, Atlanta. I think Paris is right there.
Well, you do now, do you?
Teams. I mean, look, I don't think they're as I don't think they're world beaters like Britain, but I think they're still good. I think they're definitely a playoff team. I definitely think they're a team that can upset teams in the playoffs. Would I be shocked if they're the champions at the end? I probably would. I think everybody else would as well. It's nothing wrong to say. Well, the Justice, I feel like they could be. The Justice, I think, play better than what their record is. Does that make much sense? Like, I feel like they are better than what their 2-5 record says.
Well, you can see that makes sense, and it's fair to say early in a season, right, when a team hasn't been able to actually prove that. We use the eye test a lot in Overwatch. We do lean on statistics to a general degree, but when we see matches like this, there's a lot of qualitative analysis that we use to try and ascertain where these teams sit in the overall standings, and Washington has looked strong. In fairness, they played 2 homestands in front of home crowds and couldn't really get many wins from those. Right. But I think everyone is still pretty high on them and expects to see, especially with a DPS core like they have, do good things. Against Philly, though, Matt, that's another story.
It's the same kind of stuff that let them down yesterday, though. It's like poor ult timings at times, layering the support ults, and it cost them yesterday where they're a few fights away from potentially winning a series. And today it looks like, at least with early on in map 1, it's kind of trending the same way.
Matt, I felt like that sound barrier that we saw in that last fight layered over the Coalescence was probably a response to 3 players on the Justice getting shattered. Definitely a bit of a panic response from Mark, worrying that maybe if they got charged, even with the Coalescence in play, they could still be burst down. So we give them the benefit of the doubt there, but it's, you know, at first glance, it's never a great look to see both those support ultimates at the same time and not sort of stretched out. So that's something, you know, if you are maybe sort of newer to watching Overwatch and you want to get a feel for how these teams are stacking up, or at least how everything, the nuts and bolts are working inside, communication-wise, that's an early indicator.
They lose a lot of the fights, though, yesterday. Like the 50-50 fights, they lose a lot of them to Toronto. Toronto had really strong ultimate usage, etc. With the Justice, like their ultimate usage was poor, which is what let them down in that match.
Alrighty, well, we're out of the gates here. And by the way, guys, our next hero pool draws happening on Watchpoint Post Show after the Asia matches tonight. So for those of you that are watching on the West Coast or in the States in general, that's quite late, but worth checking out if you want to know what the meta could look like in our next week of matches. Right now, though, we're living large or short, to be fair, with Torbjorn.
Drink some coffee and stay up. That's what I'm going to do.
Matt loves his 9 a.m. coffee. Gets 2. 1 goes in the fridge for the morning, 1 for the evening. He's just not affected by it. Kind of freakish. Hisu, look at him trying to go around here, this pole sack, and the Justice for a moment looked like they'd actually get surrounded and clamped down on. They're able to fall back a little bit. But Carpe v Corey, and it's all been Carpe so far in his Torb matchup. He just takes his head off again with a rivet gun.
Yeah, it's just the little taps from the Torb gun. You're able to just get the taps to the head as Tuba trying to go on a flank. He ended up in a sea of players. He was just kind of surrounded by 3. I was like, what's happening? Like, what is he doing there?
Philly cottoned on real fast. They just turned around and said, yo, are you good, fam? And then immediately, sheepishly, Tuba just pops the Wraith Walk and gets away. So Philly take the point very comfortably. They go the high ground. It's a great outmaneuvering technique. They use the high ground. They take it away from the Justice. And Washington weren't ready to adjust at all. They didn't want to back up, I guess, into the low room that was enclosed and, you know, face a nasty Molten Core.
So Carpe will have his Molten Core already. He's been extremely effective with it throughout the game thus far as they work their way onto the point. They probably want to get some of these players down from the high ground before he goes for it. So you see the overload right on the tank, pressures him out.
There it is. Not much defense matrix to stop this one. How did the Justice even stand on the point? Shatter comes out there. Poco the only one knocked down, but Hisu's able to find 2 kills already. Self-destruct from Elivoke there, and Arc was trying to avoid it. Walked straight in to got straight rid of Hisu, should I say. Carpe backs up here, so it looks like the Justice without the fusion without Hisu. God help me. Back off the point. No Reaper. What? They don't want to commit.
Okay, he takes out the Arc, though, from long range, as now you may be able to make a play here. As Arc had sound barrier, you're not going to have that.
Bomb call now for Corey. It's actually a narrower choke to walk through for Philly than it is for the Justice on the point, so he's potential to get much more value when that forces a disengage.
You probably would have wanted to save that, though, and not use it. You have to use it as an emergency because you think they're going to push in after they get the pick on the Arc.
Yeah. Better to use to win a team fight, Matt, than to just make the enemy team wait a few seconds, because now Philly come back in with a Coalescence to open with. Carpe could have another Molten Core here. Hisu down again, though, and look at this dust to Philly. As soon as they lose Hisu, they're out of here.
Yep, they back up. So just Coalescence invested there from the Justice. Now Philly Fusion, though, you'll have the Death Blossom, Shatter, and Molten Core combo. It's Carpe, now they're going to try and go to the high ground. Is this where he wants to throw his turret? He's been throwing it down a little bit lower underneath this platform, trying to get some crossfire in that left staircase.
It is easy to break line of sight from a turret placed up there. Okay, so it puts it to the left side again, Matt, just inside that corner. Molten Core, some of it gets shut down by the enemy D.Va, and Carpe, I mean, on his own, he's still Torbjorn. Yes, he has more health than 200 HP, but it's not that much. On his own, still vulnerable. Yeah, I mean, look, the Justice went aggressive to commit to getting rid of the Torbjorn, and in doing so, they left themselves vulnerable now to the crackback from Philly. Sade walks up. Shadow didn't find too much, but it's just Elivote on the point trying to keep himself alive against Hisu, who just need a one-shot with the Hellfire shotguns to get him out of the mech. Over the top, though, goes Tuba in the backline. We'll see if he gets a big Blossom, but Hisu's going to use his first. And with the sound barrier, now the Fusion could start brawling out a little bit more. That was a sad Death Blossom from Tuba. It was a panic move. It didn't look good, and it sure as heck didn't work out. Carpe returns to the point on the Doomfist, which he's been workshopping lately, Matt. It's looked good, and Self-Destruct will open some space here. The Justice have to try and fight this. Philly's so close to capturing, and the Justice are falling like flies.
Yes, it's going to be Corey coming in with his Molten Core, trying to turn the tides as he takes out Carpe, getting out of the point, but Sato there swinging the hammer, standing tall as Hisu's able to get another one. It's just a matter of time before Philly puts this point in their favor.
Desperation fade away from Alarm pays off. He even fills up his healing capacity a bit more. Elivote goes for the Self-Destruct, but was taken down before he had a chance to remech, and Roar again is trying to step up to the plate. Tuba's down. Alarm gives him the slurp. Around the corner is Corey. He dodged getting the punch comes in, but a shadow was used by Sato to try and end things there, and then it works out. 2 minutes and 24 seconds on the clock, and Philly just kept hitting the Justice with haymaker after haymaker to capture that point.
They finally take it. So it was good stall from the Justice, but still not a great defense there. So it just seems like Carpe is able to build up the Molten Core fast. He's able to get some eliminations with it. It doesn't seem like other players are that effective with it. Like he took Roar out from like range, like way after he had actually used the Molten Core. I would love to know, like, did Roar just like walk into it? Like, where's the positioning of it?
So Carpe and Corey actually have about the same amount of damage. So within 200 of each other, about 7.3k. Right. Carpe has 5 final blows to Corey's 2, though, and is just able to stay alive somehow in some of these fights a little longer. Tuba only has 1 kill. So the whole of the Justice only have 6 kills between them, and obviously a third of that is coming from Corey. Philadelphia managed to find 23 kills. So, you know, in these team fights, even though the fights went long, Philly was always trading up, you know, getting 2-for-1s or just being at a player advantage for most of the time. And now, as you well know, when that happens, it is really inevitable that eventually, even on a map like Volskaya, Philly are going to prevail on the attacking side.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're getting that many kills more, right? You're trading effectively. Tuba's never going to, like, his stats are never going to be good in that type of comparison, just because your team's just getting rolled. I think it just speaks more to the Justice in terms of, like, their team fight, like, brawly type of setup. When we saw the Justice successful last year, it's when Goats kind of went away and they could play more freeform around, like, Hangzhou and Widowmaker and that, like, where now we're back in a meta that changes week to week, but this week seems to be way more of a brawly, stay close together scenario, which is not what the Justice was great at in the past. Yeah, Philly just takes the opposite high ground.
So instead of doing what the Justice did by playing close in front and center, Philly kind of expect that the Justice will try and take that high ground position. This time they make it so that doesn't put them in a disadvantage just because the Justice are able to move around this corner. Dueling Divas, throwing jabs at each other for a time. Tuba tried to break the gentleman's duel by getting in there onto Poco, who's able to get to the high ground. Philly wait a moment to get everyone healed, and now they'll drop back to the point. Carpe's turret is down, so Carpe himself has to do some work. A lot of healing coming here from Alarm. Look how close these Moiras are to those coalescences already. It just doesn't take long on that hero with these death ball comps.
Same
and the Justice actually backed up. Why do they reposition?
So it seems like they just kind of want to wait, get everybody healed up, and then they're going to use the Coalescence plus the Molten Core to try and take the point.
Corey tried to shut down Carpe immediately with the Molten Core at point-blank range, straight into his face. Didn't quite work out. Hisu was able to find 2 quickly, and Corey may be overextending to get good positioning with that Molten Core. Gets shut down, and Hisu's looking very, very good in what may be his debut. I mean, 80% ult charge here, you know, with 10 final blows as opposed to Tuba's 1. He's really been making Reaper work.
As both teams decide to use the Coalescence in combination with Molten Core to try and barrel their way onto the point. Doesn't work for the Justice, and they're going to come into this fight with an ultimate disadvantage as well, as Hisu's ahead of Tuba, Sato is ahead of Roar. I mean, it's going to happen when you win these team fights, but still you're walking into a fight now for the Justice that you're going to have to play perfectly in order to win.
Sound barrier for Arc here.
Hisu on the flank.
Can he shut down the Lucio? Or is he just looking for the Torb? Okay, Corey drops off the high ground. So Philly have a chance now to make use of this. Look at that. Straight to the rescue came Poco to make sure Hisu was okay. And here's that sound barrier. Hisu's going to wait this out a little bit longer while he has his own barrier and then try and go for a good Death Blossom. But they need to get Elivote out of the mech. No, Hisu goes for it anyway. Just hopes that the threat of the Death Blossom will force the Justice back. And he was right. Here's the self shot by Elivote. Carpe, you can't do that to him, son. He gets the quad.
And then he just types in the chat, sit.
Sit? Really?
Sit down, Corey. Sit
down.
That is unbelievable. Why? It's an official match, and he's still going for hammer kills. You can see just how serious Carpe's taken it. And the guy has another Molten Core, dude.
Carpe, our Torbjorn overlord is... Oh, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, the challenge has been issued now. The Justice have 1 minute left. That shadow doesn't look good. Raw got knocked asunder. Or aside, should I say, and couldn't hit the ground in time. Here's a Molten Core. This is defensive generally for the Philly Fusion. They push past it, but the Justice get completely dashed aside here. Sato looking towards the backside of the point with that hammer swinging, and Philly are looking at a comfy half time in 40 seconds where they're chilling 2 ahead. Carpe trying to figure out how, if he spelt sit properly. He did. S-I-T. He nailed it.
Corey comes on the flank, and then they kills Carpe. And look at this. They're going to let... Sato takes some damage from the turret to heal this back up. to get a little bit more ult charge, but this is looking like a full hold from Philly.
Yep, and they don't even look like they're taking it that seriously. Now, though, they might double down. They don't want to give this point away and extend the map any longer than it has to. Raw got caught inside the small room here. That's the Earth Shatter. Elivo was the one that got knocked down, but Philly had 5 ultimates, and you better believe they're going to use them. Problem is, they don't look good at all. Corey shuts Sato down, and Tuba gets himself amongst the pigeons now on that high ground. Philly, an atrocious start to that fight, just kicking back and maybe not giving it the respect it deserved. I'm pretty much going to lose this point here and now. Corey comes back in, fueled by the anger of getting hammer killed by Carpe, and he finds a quick double.
Yep, this is what we all expected. A crazy match between Carpe and Corey, 2 of the best Widowmakers in the league, dueling it out on Torbjorn in an official game. Carpe definitely getting the better of it, though, right? He's looked great on Torb. This is still in a good spot for the Philly Fusion to get a map win. Washington Justice, they just take point A. They'll get on to point B now, but even if they take it, they're still going to finish with the worst time.
Look at Hisu, they're bullying Elivote, getting rid of that Diva awfully fast. And that's going to mean that Hisu's Death Blossom is going to be muy picante, very effective, without anything to shut it down. Tuba has one too, so could use it defensively, but I don't blame the Justice for pushing out. I wonder why Philly don't try and capitalize a little bit though.
Well, I mean, you can just kind of wait this out. You're not giving any damage to Elivote. It's taken a while for him to get the mech back. And you have the clock on your side. So there's really no reason. Like, you look at when the Roar jumps around the corner, nobody's taking any type of poke damage, right? So Elivote's not able to get any damage on his Pilot Diva to build it up rather quickly. Now he's up to 90% as gets some good damage down.
Raw has been training at the Church of the Fatty Shatty. And he'll want one here. Pushes forward, getting a bit of early damage on Sato. They don't need to be killed up. The Coalescence is in play. The health totals are going to get a little bit interesting, but Hisu goes in. He wanted a Death Blossom in the previous fight, but this time he didn't even have to get rid of Elivote first. 3 kills. A little bit of swag as he drops off the edge to teleport back. I like it. Yeah. Give me that.
Style
and Hisu
points.
looking confident. This team, by the way, full of players just like Hisu. Alarm, Carpe, all cheeky, all love to flex, all love to show off a little.
Hey, when you're beating the other team bad, just let them know. There's nothing wrong with that. It's Carpe. He'll have the Molten Core. It's really Molten Core Shatter self-destruct here for Philly, as it's 5 ultimates available for the Justice. This will probably be their best chance to take point B the entire game.
Hisu with 17 final blows. The next closest person is Carpe with 10. Washington have 4 max on their DPSs. Hisu is actually not far off potentially Fletter deadlifting here, but with the rest of quality on Philly, that may not be the case. Molten Core for Corey. Where does it go? Straight across the breach here into that small room. Can the Fusion get out of it? Carpe's going to respond back with one of his own, and it's heating up in here. Both turrets are down. You can see it's red and white across the point. Sato is going to sit behind that shield. They've actually switched places a little bit, and the Philly Fusion have let the Justice play the back of their own point. This means that every respawn is a potential flank, but Philly clean up the Justice before any of them go down. I had a chance to respawn, and even more so, have 2 key ultimates for the next fight. The Justice might have one more chance.
Roar took so much damage from the Molten Cores. Carpe just used his a little bit later than Corey's. As you have these ultimates here, his own aim god just hiding behind Hisu here's the loop spray on the ground, letting him know he messed up. Is they got to get a touch.
And God will likely fade to the point with his own Biotic Orb, just a bit of extra healing to keep him alive, and it does the job. That gives us overtime. Here's the Coalescence. Wow, Tuba went into a really early Wraith Walk here. He has to do something, but he's not back, and he has nowhere to reposition safely. Shatter, it's big. Tuba, Elivote, aim got all knocked to the ground. No idea what hit him, and Sato charges off the map because he knows he's done enough to secure victory for the Fusion. That'll be overtime with Elivote the last standing. Molten Core secures it, and Carpe finishes that map with 17,000 damage. Corey had also 16k in fairness, but the Torbjorns were taken over.
That's why I was saying from yesterday's game against the Defiant, Corey looked really good. He was putting down a lot of damage. There was absolutely nothing else there for the Justice, though. And it looks like more of the same today. In Philly, they look phenomenal. We talk a lot about the miscomings of the Justice, or the shortcomings of the Justice. The Philly Fusion look on point today. They are reminding people why a lot of them early on, we haven't seen them in a bit, but we're saying this is one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league.
Really are treating this like a scrim, Matt. Hisu is absolutely popping off, and this is where he's comfortable. I guess, you know, unfortunately he doesn't quite get to debut on stage, but right now he is showing up and is a dominant force. We've got halftime coming up, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to break down what we've seen so far and how the Fusion have been so dominant. And when we return, it'll be map 3 here. Justice and Fusion head-to-head right here after our halftime break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Rank up with America's first and only nationwide 5G network. And by State Farm. For auto, home or renters insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Welcome to our game break presented by Pringles Wavy. My name is Zoe, and joining me are Costa and Reinforce. We will be talking about the Philadelphia Fusion and the Washington Justice. It is halftime, and currently the Fusion are up 2-0. However, the Justice initially didn't really go down without a fight, so they did play all right.
All right.
Just all right.
Throw that
Just
word
all
out.
right.
They played all right. They played all right. I saw some issues there with the alt usage, but overall, they definitely looked better than what we've seen from them yesterday.
Yeah.
Let's stop there. I want to first talk about a very positive thing, and that is Hisu making his debut. Costa, what are your initial thoughts, reactions to seeing him?
Yeah,
on
he
that
is playing
Reaper?
Reaper, so it's not the most aim-intensive or mechanically intensive
What do you mean?
character. But it is his position.
How dare you?
His positioning has been good. He's been doing exactly what's been required of him. So positive signs right now for him. He seems to be synergizing really well with Carpe. So great debut so far. Obviously 2-0 up. You can't be too unhappy with that. Hello? Johnny just doesn't want to say anything about Hisu.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Costa. Yeah.
Thanks,
I didn't realize I was supposed to follow up with that. Yeah.
I don't know. You usually jump in.
Yeah.
I don't feel like
Well,
I
I
need
mean,
to
it's
say yes
Reaper,
to
right?
that. Well, what do you want to talk
Well,
about?
I mean, we can talk about Corey if you'd like to. I mean, it's been a pretty solid
Sure.
tournament.
Isn't he supposed to
Okay,
sit?
I see you.
Well.
You wanna talk about the Torbs? Let's
Yeah.
talk about the Torbs. Who
Well,
torbed
I mean,
better?
so far in the match, it's been Carpe, right? He's been torbing away, so I can't get over that.
He's also 1-0 up in the hammer kills, so he's 100% up right now.
True.
Everything else doesn't matter.
True. But I have to say, for Washington Justice, this feels like the best case scenario, in my mind anyway, that you're playing actually the mirror matchup against Philadelphia Fusion. Because the worst case scenario, in my opinion, would have been if Washington Justice ran this Torbjorn strategy, and then Philadelphia Fusion had like a composition that was better off, and they had the upper hand against the Philadelphia Fusion, or Philadelphia had the upper hand against Washington Justice, right? Because then Washington Justice, they would have just been caught with their pants down and not really been able to do anything. So I do enjoy that they do play the mirror matchup. That gives Washington a chance, especially when Washington is on the attack. So it does feel like a winnable matchup overall, even though Philadelphia is up 2-0. It feels a bit competitive, which we didn't expect going into the matchup.
Yeah, no, I think as we were watching the match, you did mention several times that you like the aggression coming out of the Washington Justice. Now, for our crunch time presented by Pringles Wavy, you got a very nifty play involving Symmetra and Bastion, everything you want to see.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed this strategy coming out of the Washington Justice. They play this Symmetra and Bastion strategy coming out on Busan, and I really enjoyed it because it shows me that they're actually willing to bring in some cheese and change things up, in my opinion, and that's what you need to do when you're playing some of these better teams. Philadelphia Fusion, we know them to be one of the best Atlantic teams in the Overwatch League right now. So what do? You try to throw them for a loop, and so you bring out the Bastion, you bring out the Symmetra, and Philadelphia Fusion are forced to adapt. Now, Hisu came in clutch on the Reaper because he actually managed to pick off Tuba, and from there, the main tank and the off tank of the Philadelphia Fusion, they are able to navigate around the Bastion and able to stand below him where Corey doesn't have any angles. So well played by Hiso, but overall I really like the strategy from Washington Justice. They gained some bonus percentage on control because of this strategy, because they needed Philadelphia Fusion to take some seconds and reconsider. How do we approach this Symmetra Bastion strategy? So great overall by the Washington Justice. I love this kind of stuff. Bring more cheese forwards in this match.
Bring the cheese.
More cheese. Well, okay, Costa, some last thoughts other than cheese. What do you want to see? We're heading on to Route 66. How do you think they can make it more competitive?
Honestly, I think it's just about ult usage. I think Philadelphia Fusion have been using their ult significantly better, just more efficient and all that. Washington Justice, if they can tighten that up, they are playing the mirror matchup, and honestly, they're not getting, completely destroyed at that point. They just really need to tighten it up and sort of like fix some loose ends, and they can actually take it to Philly. But at the end of the day, Philly is Philly, and they're playing incredibly well in this current meta.
Philly is Philly.
Philly is Philly.
Philly is Philly. That is factual. Thank you so much, guys. Let's see if Justice can get back into this series and make it more competitive. We will find out in just a second as we're sending it back to Uber and Mr. X.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Well, fortunately enough for Corey and the Washington Justice, they are playing from home. They are already seated, but the message was definitely delivered there before halftime. So Philadelphia Fusion, led by Carpe and Hisu on the Torb and Reaper, really made a mark and honestly didn't give the Justice, Matt, much chance to get back into those maps.
And I know a lot of fans there looking at the Philadelphia Fusion tweets and like, today's the day, and everyone's like, oh, Chips are gonna play. Like, you know, he's a sick Doomfist player, like maybe he gets some play, but I think those tweets are about Hisu, which a lot of people probably didn't expect. And he's come in on the Reaper and really impressed alongside Carpe on the Torb, and that's how Philly's gotten out to a really fast 2-0 start.
Yeah, the Fusion made some big moves in the offseason to add some superstar talent to their team. I mean, we already talked about it before the break. We haven't even seen Fury come in. You know, probably one of the top divas, world-class player. Like, we're talking a role-star caliber individual, but Poco is playing well enough to hold his spot. Now that Hisu is of age, he can join the fray alongside the rest of his team, and now we're starting to see the real acumen behind the kind of decision to bring him into the team. There's not been any substitutions after halftime, so sorry for those of you that were hoping for Chipser to make his grand entrance, but for Philly, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it.
Well, I was looking for the side that was broke, the Justice. I was like, is there going to be a changeover on that side of the line in terms of coming out of halftime? And no, they're going to run out with the same exact lineup yet again. So what we've seen from the Justice has been good. I think Corey's been really good today. You know, that's kind of like their biggest bright spot. And then everything else has kind of been all over the place.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, we've seen Tuba struggle to really find the best times to be making those forays on Reaper. Death Blossom timing also has struggled somewhat. And also, every time he's tried to teleport forward, the Fusion are just ready for it. They turn around immediately and force him to walk away under Wraith form.
They've layered support ults and whatnot on top of each other. It's been an odd look from the Justice this weekend. So we'll see if they can put together a better look after halftime. It'll be the Torb Reaper, no surprising here from the Justice. Look, you run it on offense, you're going to run it on defense. And then for Philly Fusion, what did they decide to go with? Probably, I would say, the same. There's no reason to really change it up. You've been winning the mirror matchup pretty handedly, so why move away from it?
And they will play close by the looks of things. The Justice and many teams playing in a similar fashion now. So we will see if the Justice, how long they can hold out here in front of the doorway. Obviously, the longer the better. We see plenty of teams, you know, that don't manage to really get past that first fight, and it's still fine for them. They can regroup and fight again. But if they are successful in holding this close fight, things can spiral out of control pretty quickly, and you can get a minute, 2 minutes under your belt as a defending team, which goes a long way on a long map like Route 66.
So Corey's turret already gone. So the brawl begins here as looks like Roar gets really low, has to back out and into an odd spot. He goes like to the right side of that little rock and goes on the low end, but looks like the Justice battling back.
Yeah, I mean, Hisu got over the top. They do lose Funny Astro, but without Roar, that's the key really for the Justice here. That and their supports, they need to be able to hang around in this fight. Hisu was able to drop in like Batman. Again, a flank that was pretty much undetected, or at least didn't receive perhaps the attention from Washington that it deserved. So, Philly, they've saddled up and they're on the road.
As soon as you saw Philly get like 2 kills, then it was the Hisu just come from the backside. The Justice gets 2 kills. Hisu on the backside comes through with a TP and takes out a few remaining players. See what Carpe decides to do with his Torb turret. Some good angles here at this point, right? Because this is where you would kind of play on defense with the Torb. You would put it kind of in that position where you saw Carpe at the lower half of your screen. As the Justice try and come out, get control up top on the high ground of Big Earls.
Coalescence for AIM got an alarm, so they are ready. The Justice, if they need to double down and make a fight of it. We haven't really seen the Tourbillons get too nitty-gritty so far. But with Carpe approaching that Molten Core, he can drop it on the card if they're going to come to him. No, he actually sends it to the high ground. Roar, burning down, is able to get outside of the Molten Core, and Carpe saves a little bit. Remember, you don't have to let it all go at once. You can hold it and use it as you wish. So Carpe spreads it like butter on toast across the top and bottom sides of the map, and the Justice really didn't have any options of where to stand. Hisu's Death Blossom seals the deal, and that'll be checkpoint number 1 with 4:35 on the clock.
It's a lot of what we saw from map number 1 and map number 2 from the Justice. Both support ults in that fight. Still a fight lost. Funny Astro will have that sound barrier for the next fight that comes up. when the Justice will have Molten Core, Death Blossom, Earth Shatter. You know, the Philadelphia Fusion going to gain some payload progress out of this as well. It's going to take a while for the Justice to get in position.
I feel like Corey's in a great spot for Molten Core right now. Philly going to need the speed boost to get him away from that one. Here it goes. Mortar was the backline, but interesting enough, Corey gets forced away by Poco in a 1v1 and doesn't get a lot of coverage. May not even have used in the entirety of that Molten Core at all. That did not work. Philly knew that there was going to be a Molten Core in their fight. They spot the Torbjorn, they gun him down instantly, and now they head back towards the cart here. Carpe's being kept alive. He has right clicks for days, and Tuba can't get damaged because Poco is literally everywhere.
This isn't really even close, man. I mean, right now, Philly's just running through the map.
It looks like it's really natural for them as well. Like
3.5 minutes, like it's. Look at this next fight, right? Coalescence, self-destruct, Molten Core. The Justice are just going to have to throw themselves at the point. And what chance do they have against these ultimates?
Look at that turret placement. Tuba's getting smashed as he tried to teleport to the high ground. And he can't do anything about the turret. He's too far away. Here's the Molten Core, and everything's going wrong for the Justice. This is carnage. And Carpe is at the helm once more. That is so filthy. Carpe has predetermined so many of these turret locations. Tuba can't get in.
The turret location is really good, right? It has an angle that can watch the high ground. That when Tuba TPs, he's already about half health. So what happens then? He has to use the Wraith form to go away. So he's blowing all his cooldowns, which Reaper without his cooldowns is a potato. As Hisu's behind the Justice here, is that they have not a clue, and he's got a Death Blossom coming
is not a potato. Tuba, though, is a potato.
Well, no,
he's definitely a potato.
Reaper is a hero's potato without his cooldown.
Read the name. Read the name.
It's a huge
Potatoes
shatter.
are Tuba's mat. Hisu's able to take down Raw. Sato playing around the corner. Here comes in a self-destruct now. This one doesn't hit. Poco trying to make something of that one. He gets rid of Corey's turret though. Death Blossom from Tuba doesn't find anything. Wow, I would tell you, Elivo was playing very close to the corner there, a little bit too close. He gets worked down by Alarm. Aim got desperately trying to keep everyone healed up on the high ground, but Philly Fusion just will not be stopped, Matt. They look so confident. Juggernauts pushing forward. Only 3 kills from the Washington Justice so far on this map. And they've been on the Astro Sato and Carpe. The rest of the Fusion deathless. And the Justice are looking lifeless.
And now the Justice, what do you have? You have nothing big to deter them from just pushing the cart going forward as he's up on the high ground. Looking down low, sound barrier for both sides. The Justice have to use it just to get out of the spawn. And then Philly, what do? They speed boost back out, trade turret for turret. Both of them are dead. But now you have a sound barrier advantage here for the Philly Fusion going into the next fight.
That's so clean. Washington just cannot get a fight. They can't buy a fight when they want it. Tuba's on the flank though. He's looking for Alarm, but the sound barrier is going to make it hard for him to work anyone down instantly. Molten Core in an enclosed space. Perfect recipe for disaster here for the Fusion. And again, continue just to roll through. Carpe getting a lot of value out of this area denial. Even with Lucio in the game on both sides, the Justice aren't able to respond to it quick enough. They're committed already by the time the Molten Core comes down. Raw steps up to the plate here, but he strikes out instantly. And that card is home with 2 minutes and 21 seconds to spare.
Yikes. You were looking for signs of life from the Justice coming out of half, and there was nothing there. Is Philly, they want to get this series over with. Man, that was a fast time here on Route 66, a map that's usually difficult to finish towards the end. I mean, Philly, they just the sound barrier comes in from the Justice, they back up, they know they have a sound barrier advantage after that, Molten Core as well, and it's easy, man. It's just easy.
Of course, a quick aside for everybody hanging out at home, Activision Blizzard and the Overwatch League, we're proud to support the World Health Organization in encouraging all of our players to hashtag play a part together. When we hashtag play a part together, we're using one of the most powerful preventative strategies to protect ourselves, our loved ones and others. We all have great power to combat this pandemic by staying at home and playing together online, or if you're me and Matt, don't, because we get tilted.
They don't play together online.
That's not true. We do.
I play online.
WoW.
I just don't play. Just don't play with Mitch. I try and avoid. Well, it's you know I play with Sideshow a lot, and that just tanked my games, right? I mean, it's been tough. It's been tough out there, dude. It's been tough out there.
We hashtag play together sometimes.
Yep.
You know, but right now, You know, we're taking a breather. We're casting some Overwatch here. Everyone is out there watching. Probably companion streams, maybe. Shout out to the boys.
We get some legs here.
Okay, legs.
Could have been just for like a halt hook with the rocket potentially. So okay, this is interesting. Double shield. You're now going to have an Ana in play, and then you're going to play 76. This is an odd composition, but if you didn't want to play Torb, you can use the double shields against the Torbjorn, right? Like, Torbjorn's not really great against breaking shields, so to speak. And then the 76 you can use to work down the shield of Sato, but now they're going to get aggressive and just run right onto him.
Well, in a duel, 76 also rocks Torbjorn from, you know, longer ranges where 76 is effective. Tuba rolls over Funny Astro here, and finally, the counter pick has been shown. Aim got also on the Ana here, interestingly enough, so no Moira, but the Justice seem confident with that. The Philly Fusion don't want to play that close, not against double shield, so they have time for Rhino to get everyone healed up. This is a nice looking comp. How did Philly respond?
And you can play slow with the Ana because you're playing double shields. I wonder if Philly switches off of this. They've been so committed towards this Torbjorn. I wonder if they decide to change. If you wanted to change, you can go like shield break and bring something like a Hangzhou in to the equation. Although Hanzo's not really great against like the Reaper, right? Close range. That'll be an interesting thing for them to try and figure out.
I've been told, Matt, that you don't know what tubers are, which is a shame. Now I see why my pun fell flat beforehand, but it's okay.
Yeah, no,
move on.
I assume most of the people at home are not not doing the same thing that you are.
I'm sure. We have a very diverse viewer base, man. I'm quite sure plenty of people figured it out. Corey, okay, tactical visor forces action down from the high ground. Hisu just gets completely blown up. Fantastic tracking, perfect tracking, yada yada yada. You know the drill. And Aim God is able to clean up the fight there with a nice bio grenade, makes it harder for Alarm and Astro to do much about it.
But did you need the super that you nanoed, tac visored, shattered, and superchargered there?
You're blessed with a wealth of riches, Matt.
But did you need all of them though?
Yeah, you're splurging. You know what I mean? Like a Beverly Hills shopping trip.
Yeah, but you didn't need all of those ultimates. I don't think is now. EMP comes through. Sound barrier available for the Justice. That'll be the EMP that comes through early, and that'll connect with Tuba while he's using the Death Blossom. So that's Matt, 2 kills for the Philly Fusion, and now they'll get aggressive.
Did that stop Tuba's ultimate? It doesn't quite look like it did. Okay, it did. All right, so he's just finishing the last bit of animation before he got cancelled. So Death Blossom shut down. Philly can now stabilize. They now know what the Justice are playing. So can they set something up to sort of, you know, avoid getting rolled by this? Oh, Corey, no more legs. He's just trading in his long pair of legs for short, stubby ones.
Yeah, now you go back to the Torb. Well, the Torb is the counter to Tracer. So Tracer Sombra, when they trade off of it to try and get the 76 out of the equation, now you bring in a counter pick with Torb to get rid of Carpe's Tracer.
Tuba coming forward. Been spotted out, but it's not trying to make an assassination quite yet. Carpe's a tough job here, finding these kills, but that is a oh my god! Poco!
Dominated.
Ah! I'm
Raw
tensed up,
Matt,
still seeing that. That is brutal. Hey, we love a good little shatter bomb setup. Fantastic.
It's been a while. It's been a while, I feel like, since we've seen like a big shatter bomb combo, because the Reinhardt's usually just throwing all their shatters into shields.
Gets me sounding like Liberace. You know, I try and go up instead of louder so my neighbors just don't call the police, but that was one of those moments where, yeah, let it out. Just not unlike a Molten Core. It was beautiful. And now the Philly Fusion have support ultimates. So no key combo ultimates really online, but the EMP could be huge anyway, just to shut down and brawl. But Corey supercharged himself there. Here's the coalescence from the high ground map. Looks like Hisu wants to push forward. Not very subtle about his setup here. It is an EMP. Gets Corey, Raw, and Elivote frontline now without the use of their abilities, which is their main boon in these fights. But the follow-up is slow or not there from Philly, Matt. They're using Sombra Carpe. They don't really have big burst damage.
Yeah, and that's the difficulty when you have the Tracer against a Torbjorn. You can't really get close. So Carpe on a flank is able to take out Corey. So maybe you're able to extend this long enough to make a play. But usually the Tracer's just not really great against the Torb. The turret to put down some extra shots, force recalls early, and then Torb can become pretty difficult to kill close range with his own armor. And that'll be Tuba using the Death Blossom, connects with Poca.
Very good spot here for Washington, Matt. Close to the Molten Core, already getting a free kill there with that Death Blossom, and all of Philly are pushed back. So Philadelphia are going to try and regroup now. that puts them in a position where trying to rush on the payload, they're going to run headlong into Liquid Magma. Corey is just going to line them up as they try and get out one of these doorways, and he'll probably pick the right one. He'll stand near this one. Poco gets a bit of it, eats up some of the magma there. Here come the Fusion trying to push out. Sato manages to get a shatter on towards Tuba, but he didn't have a Death Blossom available, and Philly can't follow up on the shatter anyway. Not looking good. Philly using ultimates here in a fight that fundamentally, based on where they were positioned, Matt, looked like a low percentage effort from them.
So this is interesting. You saw Corey there with the hammer out going towards the spawn. I think he's going to switch off of this again. Yep, they're going to go back to 76. So they feel like this is an answer potentially to the Torbjorn setup. They're going to go 76. They're going to go double shield with the Orisa and the Rhine. Bring the Ana back into the equation so you don't feel that bad wasting those ultimates.
All right, here's the backside push. Philly tried to drop on in. They're just not trying for a flank here, Matt. They're just trying to hold front lines here. They sent Tuba in, he's out, legs are back.
It also makes it way harder to get a shatter off of your Sato going up against a Rhine and the Orisa.
Look at this, Raw, so confident, but Hisu was waiting. Funny, Astro gets the final blow, but Hisu was tearing strips off with the Reinhardt of Poco, or Sato, so should I say, as he pushed on in. Carpe hit with a body grenade, but still looks pretty comfortable. He's up close and personal, which is just where Torb likes to be. So Philly tried to go for a flank defense. It doesn't pay out, but the Justice looked really uncomfortable being on the wrong side of the map there, and it sort of forces them into some errors.
And here's your issue for the Justice comp, is they don't have like any type of control. It kind of struggles when they don't have that, because that's when the Torb can be effective. As you see Carpe now jumping down with the Molten Core. They're all trapped in the hallway.
Oh, it's got to be the sound barrier, but they're all baking. It's like a nice big Italian pizza oven. Carpe having to force them back, but the Justice do get a very timely sound barrier. Without that, I mean, Carpe's going to get another highlight reel clip. Still, the Justice are alive. A little bit battered, bruised, and a little bit crispy. But they're ready to throw hands, and Poco got a little bit too close there to Raw's flailing hammer. Carpe gets arced down early on, and Tuba's again interrupted during his Death Blossom. Hisu shows up better, and this guy's been watering his plants. That's a better-looking Death Blossom. Hisu finds two, and time dwindling for the Justice. Well, the series hangs in the balance, Matt.
Everybody dumps their ultimates into that fight. The Justice, they'll come back. Supercharger, Supercharger, and Attack Visor. You should be able to win with these two ultimates. It'll be the fight after that they'll struggle to get the cart over the line. As Hisu yet again, so sneaky, always on the flank. Does he get rid of the Supercharger here first? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, actually, does he get the Ana? Oh, he's spoiled for choice. Too many options, and he ends up getting none of them. Hisu trying to get away. Does not work out in the Philly Fusion. That went awry.
We've all been there before. You have a plan, then you change the plan halfway through, then you realize the plan you originally had was the right one, and then it all fails.
All right, cards rolling
tough
forward.
To watch.
When the Justice, if they finish, they get booped up to a minute in time bank, and the Philly get the same amount of extension. However, they need to survive here through self-destruct.
Coalescence, Bomb, and Molten Core should be enough for Philly to get a hold.
Carpe's looking for it now. Here's the Coalescence to start off the fight. Tuba going to try and break line of sight. Back on right up. No Reaper in the fight right now. Look, Tuba just looks on as Raw gets decimated. If Tuba was there, maybe he could have helped his Reinhardt or got a 1-for-1 trade, but the Coalescence forced him to position very passively. Carpe's ready for a Molten Core now. Hold thrown out by Elivo, but he burns on down and a self-destruct on the point. Too many things for the Justice to keep track of. Corey's able to get rid of Alarm with the Helix Rocket, but eventually everyone must succumb to the flames, and the Forge God Carpe gets the Fusion across the line. Torbjorn looking absolutely nutty, and Philly get their second victory against the Justice this season. This time, far more convincing than the last.
Corey just with the GG, you guys are nuts. As Philly, they looked really strong today. I think if anyone had any questions about how they stack up to some of the other teams that we've seen that have really impressed, like the Seoul Dynasties of the world, they can definitely get there. This is definitely a team to still consider as one of, if not the best in the league.
And Matt, we're going to discuss something that doesn't really require much deliberation, of course, our player of the match.
Yes.
I think we're pretty much aligned. We talked about it in the break, and Carpe definitely took over this game. Not the hero. We ever expected Carpe to be the dominant force on, went on for his Widow. McCree play, not so much for his Zarya, to be fair, but the Torbjorn comes in, and it is so far ahead of anything the Justice could throw at Philly.
It was filthy.
I mean, you know what, though? He had so much freedom because Hisu was providing just as much of a threat in many of those maps, getting even more final blows than Carpe. But those Molten Cores, you see him come down at the start of fights. No one really dies to it straight away, and all of a sudden people start dropping.
the early headshot pickoffs and fights, the ultimate usage, plus that the rate that he's generating the ultimate, just a lot of damage overall. Sick performance today from Carpe. It's just another hero that you can talk to him about, is that he's one of the best players that we've seen play it. Yeah. He's got like all the other ones you mentioned in his wheelhouse. Now you got to throw the Torbjorn in there, as he looked really, really good today. Although I think Corey's a fantastic Torbjorn on the other side. To be fair, I think the Justice looks so out of sync this week.
Yes, I think a lot between their DPS players and the rest of the team. Yeah. The Justice come out of this one well done. You know, char-grilled, if you will. And I think that this meta, I mean, they looked okay yesterday. I mean, they take an L today. This will change. Hero pools will differ. I don't know necessarily if this Torbjorn performance was so great that it would, you know, bring him back into vogue, so to speak. It definitely seems like he's very powerful right now at shutting down a lot of this tank-focused play. He dealt just as well with double tank as he did with single, even though you mentioned that he might have a tougher time with the Orisa in play.
He did struggle. Like, the Torbjorn play did struggle when you had the Orisa, Ryan, 76 Ana combination. But I think it's just a lot of people wanted to see dive, and you're not going to see that because Torb's so effective. Reinhardt as a damage dealer in the tank role, Torbjorn busting down tanks, also good against flankers. Kind of makes dive something that's not really going to happen right now.
And Matt, Philly have been sitting on the sidelines watching some of these matches happen online, looking for their opportunity. Now they've had it. Coming up next, though, is a really interesting matchup, right? The Dallas Fuel come into the season making some gigantic changes to their roster. But their first few matches here in the season have been up against some quality opposition. They've been tough. And it doesn't get any easier. They'll be going up against the Los Angeles Valiant after a great time to assess both of these teams at almost what is getting close to the midpoint of this season. Let's see how those two are shaping up right here after the break. This is the Overwatch League.